What Ice Cube did with the Big Three is a big deal.
You will effectively be probably the only pure play sports league that's publicly traded on a U.S. exchange.
This is why.
Right now, people bleed, they sweat, they cry for teams that they have no economic stake in.
You have you know, no chance to be part of the upside. For us to be the first league to step out there and offer this is right up our alley.
So there's two ways I like to think about this scenario with the big three and this idea of allowing fans access to shares. One is from the cryptocurrency side, and the other is from the sports side, the sporting side, and like this historical connection that clubs and towns had with their supporters. They are an economic supporter to these teams. They spend a lot of money to support these teams, but they have zero economic upside unless they have a business in the surrounding areas.
Fans can now buy stock in their favorite team.
If you're a fan of this team, you can also become an owner of the team. You can own stock, and that in a way is very exciting.
I think it's smart business. On one hand, with cryptocurrency, this idea of breaking an asset down into smaller bits, effectively tokenizing it, and making those bits or tokens available for purchase. What that means is you can bring more participants and more investors into the value creation of an asset and the ownership of an asset. But what you can also do is extend the asset, enhance the asset's durability. So you make it essentially a more durable asset because you spread the risk profile over more people at a lower cost. So this is the genius, and this is the sort of the benefit of that approach. People see how fans engage with teams around the world. In soccer, for instance, there are some clubs where all the shares are fan owned, or there's a certain allocation of shares that are dedicated specifically to fans. There's a history of teams that have grown in Europe and in soccer that have grown from the lowest leagues all the way up to the very top leagues. And basically what they've done is they've relied on the local community to add stability to the club. The club represents their community. It bears their name. There's a legacy, right? Grandfathers, great-grandfathers, fathers, sons, daughters, great-grandmothers, all being supporters of the club. So there's a deep-rooted legacy and tie to that club. And that club often occupies central geography in the town. So its meaning is visible and it's felt and it's experienced. It's physical, it's mental, and it's spiritual. Most of these teams are financially sustained by their fan base, and giving the fan base a deeper connection, the opportunity to actually have a stake, and it connects family. So the natural thing to do is to make that club and the value of that club purchasable and ownable by the communities and the community and the families that make up the community. So it's just a logical step. Fans live in the town, they live in the area, they are stakeholders in the community, and it allows you to drive deeper ties and deeper connection to the community that supports these teams. Another piece, when you think about what's going on in MLS and Major League Soccer right now in terms of trying to buy up all of these, stadiums and put stadiums in teams around the country. So they've identified, 100-something markets where they want to put stadiums in smaller, lower tier cities or smaller tier cities. Basically, with the idea being there are these local communities that have local ties to teams, and they want to be able to take those teams and community ties and provide them with a facility, a stadium where they can actually participate and play. The challenge there is the league will have national sponsors that they secure that will leverage that physical footprint from around the country in their larger markets and smaller markets. And the smaller communities will get the remaining inventory that the national sponsors don't sell to be able to sell to the local community. So the success or failure of any of these smaller teams will be directly tied to the degree to which the operators have relationships with communities and businesses in the local environment. And often national sponsors give give individual teams a certain amount of time to be able to secure local sponsorship for that inventory. The national sponsorship doesn't sell. So the operator becomes essential. The operator's ties, the operator's knowledge of the local environment, the operator's relationship with the community. That's what becomes the currency. That's how these clubs either succeed or fail.
If you looked at my career, my whole career from music to movies and now sports, please believe it and bet on Cube.
Now looking at the situation with the big three going public, it makes me think about the WNBA. Early on, the WNBA, maybe they didn't have the fanfare, but you could probably say the same thing about the big three not having a fanfare. The WNBA, they opened it up in terms of taking on corporate sponsors, but they never allowed people to directly invest into the WNBA. We could only be fans. So the big three is just ahead of the curve when you look at all the other sports clubs. The next thing is to see what other clubs are going to do this, what other companies, what other sports companies are going to do what the big three did, and how successful will the big three be.